Ladies and gentlemen, I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the November 7th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. It's always nice to see our residents here tonight. If you would, please silence all your electronic devices and please stand. Join us in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, as we gather for our meeting tonight, we ask for your guidance. Help us to make wise decisions that advance the common good of our city. We pray for those who are sick or suffering. May they feel the comfort of your healing and the support of our community. We ask this as one people, united in freedom as Americans. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So for those of you who don't frequently attend our meetings, we've begun I guess you could call it a tradition, even if it's new. It's a new tradition, and that is that we begin our meetings with a fun or interesting or historical fact concerning Temple Terrace or our history or the region or something to that effect. And so we pass that assignment around, and tonight it's Councilmember Abel's turn to present. We'll be the judge of whether it's interesting or fun or.
It's historical.
Okay.
So in finding this fact, I was looking through some archive pictures of the early days of the city, in particular the construction of Bullard Parkway. And I came across an image of convicts grading Temple Terrace Highway, and I wanted to know the story behind it. And the picture, which was taken in 1922, looks northeast from the south side of Bullard Parkway and shows at least 20 convicts with shovels, a few supervisors, and 2 horse-drawn carriages, and an automobile. So convict leasing began in Florida in 1877 when Governor George Franklin Drew argued to establish the system to bring in revenue to the state. In response to lobbying from private companies to expand vagrancy laws to expand the source of convict labor, Florida passed legislation in 1907 to convict persons who neglect their calling or employment and all able-bodied males over the age of 18 without means of support and who remain in idleness. That's a quote from Florida laws in 1907. So that was essentially arresting people for being unemployed. In 1917, Florida lawmakers created the State Road Department and the State Convict Road Force. And in 1919, the Florida legislature passed the State Convict Law, prompting physicians to re-examine all adult male convicts and divide them into 2 grades, sending the most fit to work on constructing roads. At that point, Florida had 628 inmates at the road camps. In 1922, Martin Talbert, a man from North Dakota, died after a beating from a prison guard. North Dakota lawmakers demanded an inquiry, and in 1923, the Florida legislature held hearings about the incident. Nearly 100 witnesses testified to the horrific conditions at the state's convict labor camps before a joint committee of the Florida legislature. This resulted in the abolition of convict leasing at the county level. However, at the state level, convict labor endured with the creation of the State Road Department. Though there's certainly more to the story, I just wanted to share a little bit about how Temple Terrace Highway and many other roads throughout the state were constructed.
Good. Thank you very much. So next up, we have a proclamation for 2023 Veterans Small Business Week. Is Mr. Christopher Odgers here? He is not. Well, that's all right. We'll read the proclamation anyway, and we'll send it to him. Whereas Hillsborough County is home to more than 92,000 veterans per the U.S. Census Bureau in 2021, there are 185,000 veteran-owned businesses in Florida generating almost $60 billion in annual sales, and less than 0.5% of the U.S. population served our country in the armed forces, yet veterans-owned businesses represent 9% of all businesses in the United States. The Florida Associations of Veteran-Owned Businesses is a nonprofit entity that advocates, educates, and connects our veteran-owned businesses to economic opportunity. There are over 450 veteran-owned businesses and patriotic supporter businesses in 5 chapters across the state of Florida. National Veterans Small Business Week is dedicated to supporting entrepreneurs and business owners and their families, and to encourage people to purchase goods and services from these hardworking men and women. Florida veterans and their families deserve our unwavering support and gratitude. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 30th through November 3rd as Veterans Small Business Week. So, thank you. Unfortunate that Mr. Odgers couldn't be here, but we will make sure that he gets that. Next item is a appointment of 2 regular members to the Temple Terrace Library Board. There are 2 vacancies on the library board, and we received 2 applications from Nina Wolfson and Gloria Berkowitz. Both Ms. Wolfson and Ms. Berkowitz's terms ended, and they are interested in staying on the board, and they're eligible for reappointment. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've had an opportunity to review their applications, is there a motion?
Move to approve the appointment of Nina Wolfson and Gloria Berkowitz to the library board.
Second.
Very good, and that is for a term from November 7th, 2023 until November 7th, 2026. That's the intent of your motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay, very good. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
The women are appointed to the library board, and thank you very much for your service. Next is an appointment to the Citizens Advisory Committee for the Hillsborough County Transportation Planning Organization. There's 1 vacancy on the TPO's Citizen Advisory Committee. The city received an application from Ms. Aya Yassin, who I do not see here tonight. If everybody's had an opportunity to review her application, is there a motion?
Move to approve Asaya Yassin for the MPO Citizens Advisory Committee as a regular member.
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion? Not. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Ms. Yassin, thank you for your service. Next is a appointment to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee as a regular member. There is 1 vacancy on the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and we received 1 application from Eric Kravitz, who I know could not be here tonight. If everybody's had an opportunity to review the application, is there a motion?
Move to approve Eric Kravitz to the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee as a regular member.
Second.
Good. Motion is second. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Mr. Kravitz, thank you for your service. Next, this one requires a little explanation. Next are appointments for inaugural members to the Historic Preservation Board. This is a new board that the City Council recently established in connection to a historic preservation program that we have recently started, and part of the requirements are that we seat this board. So, Council adopted Ordinance 1550 in August, creating a historical preservation program. Part of the program establishes the creation and duties of a historic preservation board. The board shall consist of 5 regular members and 2 alternate members. The city received 6 applications. To the extent possible, so we're still going to have a vacancy for 1 alternate member. To the extent possible, the Historic Preservation Board members shall be from the disciplines of architecture, history, architectural history, construction, archaeology, or other historic preservation-related disciplines. We've got 2 of those people that meet the preferred qualifications. Ms. Letha Bowles' discipline is in architectural history, and Margot Chavez's discipline is in archaeology. All the other appointments are being filled according to the chronological order that the application was received. That was the only fair way we could figure to do that. And so, we'll need a couple of motions here because we have 3 sets of people. We have 1 set who would be getting 3-year terms. We have 1 set who will be getting 2-year terms because we don't want the board to term out at the same time. And then we'll have a 3rd motion because one of the applicants will need to be an alternate. So it'll require 3 motions to get through this. So motion number one, if it meets with your approval, council, is a motion to approve the appointments of Latha Bowles, Margot Chavez, and Sherry Donahue as regular members of the Historic Preservation Board for the 3-year term, the term extending from November 7th, 2023 until November 7th, 2026. Is there a motion to that effect?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays? We got through one. Second motion that is required is to approve the appointments of Maura Sandoval and Lynn Werner as regular members of the Historic Preservation Board for a term extending from November 7th, 2023 until November 7th, 2025. These are the 2-year people. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move to approve that.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays? We got through the second round. And the third round is a motion to approve the appointment of Miss Nancy Hudson, who I think we're all familiar with from the Centennial Committee and other events. And she will serve as the alternate member of the Historic Preservation Board for a term extending from November 7th, 2023 until November 7th, 2026. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion of the motion?
Just a question.
Sure.
The natural progression, say one of the original 5 resigns, would the alternate move up automatically, or does it have to come back?
They would be eligible to apply.
They'd be eligible to apply,
That's
but
the
they
same rule
still-
that applies to
okay.
all the
Just
city
wanted to
boards.
make sure, because I didn't hear anything about that. Okay,
Yep,
good.
yeah, that's, the alternates typically do apply
Right,
and
right.
typically are given preference because they've got, but,
Just wanted to clarify.
yep, sure. Any other discussion? Yes, Councilmember April.
Sometimes they get an opportunity to speak when they're appointed. Are we going to do that today?
We can if you like,
If they,
but we've missed a bunch of them already.
if they'd like to,
Well, one of them that's here doesn't want to speak.
then she could say no.
Okay. Is there other discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no nays. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you all for serving. This is a very significant new chapter in our city's history. This is a project that we've been trying to get off the ground for 50 years at least, and there's a lot of people to thank for this. Mr. City Manager Bahia, our legal staff has had a lot. Dr. Spina, our interim city manager, had a lot to do with this. Mr. Mike Sherman and his staff. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out. I think Jeannie Barlow, the city manager's executive assistant, probably did the lion's share of the work. She's been working on this for a long time. So thank you all to staff, and thank you all, because we couldn't do this without a board. So thank you for that. Okay, has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from our October 17th meeting? And if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve. Minutes.
Second.
I think she beat you.
That's fine.
All right, seconded by Councilmember Fernandez. Are there any corrections or discussion of the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no nays, the minutes are adopted. Next, our section of the meeting is persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or on items on the consent agenda. There are forms in the back of the room on the table for anybody who would like to address the council at this time for items not on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. I currently have a couple forms filled out, but it's not too late. If you'd like to address the council, please feel free to submit a form to the city clerk. The first request I have is Mr. Erwin Heischen. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
We do ask that you approach the podium and begin with your name and city of record, please.
My name is Erwin Heiken. I'm a resident of Temple Terrace since 1988. Simple question. I just want to know why our city is not a participating member in the Tampa Bay Waterwise rebate program. That's the program where if you install low-flow toilets, replacing the old toilets, that you get a $100 rebate. I went through the whole process, and that's how I found out that we are the only area in Hillsborough County that does not participate. I attempted to call yourself, no avail. I attempted to contact you, city manager, to no avail. So I'm here to try to find out why.
Okay. I did not get any messages.
I was told that you don't have regular office hours, and then I was referred to you. And the lady I spoke to on the phone took my information, my contact information, the issue, and said that they were going to send you an email. And that was on October 16th, and I never heard anything. So that's why I'm here today, just to find out why the city doesn't participate in this program, and we're the only ones in Hillsborough County that don't.
Okay. Well, Mr. Hyken, I don't have an answer for you, and I apologize for the lack of responsiveness. I did not get a message, and I'm sure Mr. Bahia did not either, but that's no excuse. We'll try to track that down and find out why we didn't respond to you. I'm sorry for that. And we will get you an answer to that. Our staff will contact you soon and let everybody know what's going on with that.
Okay? That was it.
Very
Thank you
good. And I
much.
apologize for you having to come down here to ask that simple question. We could easily have gotten to you. And
Right,
I
that was another thing. It's like, why, is there a more efficient way? But I guess it just fell through the cracks.
Well, that's not a good excuse for any of us, and we'll have to work back on that.
I
But
appreciate
I
that.
apologize for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Charles Lieb is here to talk about the Fowler Avenue FDOT study. Good
yeah.
evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Charles Loeb. I live in Tampa, just on the side of the Terrace Park side of the border. And we have like an association now over, which is right on your boundaries. But I came over because I went over October 21st to the vision process thing on the on the Fowler Avenue study. I was able to make a long story short, I was able to interest him in an idea I had, even though Temple Terrace is slightly outside the study area. I interested him in the idea of coming over to the backside of your parking lot where there used to be a park and ride over there. You're using that for a lot of parking now. I read in the Beacon that that Mayor Ross, you wanted to see if you can get involved in the study, and I tried to kind of open the door for you a little bit because Mr. Schneider, as I gave you the information from Kimberly Horn, seemed a little bit interested. But again, this is really your proposition, whether you all want to do it or not, to try to put a thing for the BRT buses that they have planned in mind, like end of the line or something like that. Now, just for the record, people who are interested in doing the study, they're not just doing the study about transportation, but about overall development. I tried to get a map for you all, but they would not. A couple of times I requested to try to get a map for ourselves and for you all. I couldn't get it. You all maybe could do a little bit better as a city. There is one other issue I did want to bring up that relative to this, and that's the 48 route. The 48 route going eastbound does not stop between 50th Street, by Einstein's Bagels, all the way down to Raintree. Now, you all know that's a pretty long distance going eastbound. If it would come in, let's say come into the park and ride, or let's say drop off and ride, depending on how much parking that you would have, you would be able to have a stop for the 48 and be able to have a transfer point going eastbound and easy transfer to the 6 going southbound. So you would have potential ridership for that too, from the buses, or drop off, or if you can't do park and ride, drop off and ride. Now again, this is something for you all to think about, not for me to think about, but I did want to make an effort to get your foot in get the door open for you all, and we're talking about other subjects. Finally, I did want to congratulate you on getting your committee ready for your birthday for your 2025 anniversary celebration. And that I do think is a great idea with Councilman, what you're doing. And Councilman Abel's presentation I was very interesting from my point of view, so I did want to mention that to you. And good luck on this. I hope you can open the door and get yourself part of the study.
Thank you. Mr. Loeb, if you want to leave your email or number.
I have an email, that's the thing.
If you would leave your information
I
with
left
the,
the email, my thing is on that. I have a little
Okay.
piece of paper here. It has my information and it has his information.
no, I'm looking for information to contact you.
Right up here, right up the top. On top of it. I'll write it down.
Do you have a phone?
I don't use it very often.
Okay.
I'm hard to
All
tell.
right.
I'll rewrite it.
Because we're deeply involved in the Fowler Avenue studies, and there's a lot I could tell you about that, but I'm not going to tell you now.
Yeah, obviously.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Ben Johnston. Good evening, Mr. Johnston.
I have a couple of issues that I'd like to bring up. Number one, I don't know if you've ever ridden down 122nd Avenue, but there's a home there that burned down, and I'm sure you all are aware of it because I'm not the first one to speak. It was only 4 years and 1 month ago that it happened. Since then, there's been piles of rubbish taken in there. I live 2 blocks from there, actually 1 block. So I'm wondering what that's doing to my house value, and it's not fun to drive by there and see that when I come home. I called 5 months ago and just asked a question about it, and they said there were issues involved. This was the person that's in charge of code enforcement. That was about 3:30 in the afternoon. The next morning at 9:30, I got tagged for needing to pressure wash my driveway. That's a bit strange to me. I was not happy about that. That's actually quite absurd. The next thing I would like to ask you about is, we had some bad winds over in Pleasantdale or whatever they call it, where I live. I had a fence that went down. I replaced the fence. I had no idea that you needed to have a permit to replace a fence that was already there. The 4x4s, most of them, I still use them over again. So, I was 3 boards away from finishing 592 boards when our code enforcement people pulled up and said, stop, 3 boards away. I had to stop, continue to go up to this building up here. $164.50 was my fine. $75 was doubled. And then they had these other things on here, on the form. What's a DCA tax of $2? What's a DVAR of $2? I'm not worried about $2. I'm worried about, are we making money up here, or are we serving the community? That's my problem. I've been a resident for 52 years. So I think this might be the first time I didn't get a permit because, geez, it was a storm. I didn't even know you needed a permit to do such a thing. And to have to stop 3 boards away when I worked on it for 7 days and that truck moved up and down the road and saw me. But boy, when I hit that 3rd one. And they even threatened another $350 fine because I hadn't gotten the permit. So this worries me. I have 1 board on a trellis that has rotted, and I keep my house nice. I'm right next door to this place. You can come by anytime you want. There's 1 board that's rotten. The board is $16, but they want $75 for a permit to do that. And we've also got to look at multifamily units in our neighborhood. I've got 2 within a block with many, many people living in one house, and they're not related. Last thing is positive. Public Works, they are a gem. This fence was torn down, piled up. They came by and cleaned it up, and it looked better than before. So your Public Works people, they really know what they're doing. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. With your permission, would you mind getting with the city clerk? I see you left an email address, but
Yeah.
I can't quite make it out. And maybe, if you don't mind, leaving a phone number, because I'd like to have staff follow up with you.
I don't know how they're going to follow up.
Well,
It's already been paid.
well,
If I could feasibly financially get out of here, I would. But if you sell and rebuy, your taxes are up. I'm stuck.
if you would like feedback, we will give it to you. If you don't want it,
Yeah, I'll take all the feedback.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. That's all the requests I currently have. If there are other members of the public who wish to address the council, now's the time. Okay, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda is adopted unanimously. Next is a resolution approving school support committee grants, and School Support Committee Chair Christina Paul is here to explain. We also have School Support Committee Member Mike Donahue is here also. If she needs any assistance, I'm sure Mr. Donahue is here, so welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi.
All right, so in accordance with the city's school improvement grant program, the School Support Committee has reviewed and rated 52 submitted grant applications. As a result of the grant rating process, the School Support Committee has recommended that City Council award grant funding to 25 school projects from 6 Temple Terrace area schools. The final amount is $29,012.25.
Good, thank you. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Council members' questions. It's a long list. I don't know. Are there questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
Yes, can you give a brief overview of the grant program and what a school needs to do to participate and the timing? Just because maybe some of them might be listening, or people in the community might be listening.
Right, so we do, well, we just approved the grants, so it is an application process, and they submit the application that we review.
What is the timing? When is the grant application available at the schools, and when would it be due to the committee?
Mike Donahue, I'm also on the committee. I would have to ask Susie Berger the exact dates, but they were due, the grants were due October 12th. Yeah. In the past, we'd opened it up and we didn't get very many, and we opened it up again. This was the last 2 years. And at the end, we decided that just didn't work. So we had a deadline, a set deadline this year. And we had 52 grants. And also raising the amount per grant to $2,000 helped not only the number, but the quality, I think, of the grants. So anything that has to be educational, obviously for the students, and they have to have data to prove at the end that it has worked. They give us a list of all their costs and where they got it from. And we do that, we go through all of that, and the committee did a great job this year. They really did. It's a lot of data. And we came that night, and it was, I chaired that part of it, and it was very gratifying. We did a great job. So many things, ESOL, exceptional education, STEM, the math, the science, engineering. There was a project, Greco's project, they've got rainwater coming onto their campus, and they can't stop it, and they're going to build a garden there to stop it. I mean, just things like that were very creative. So it was a great use of city money, and we're very proud of what we present to you here tonight.
So they did a really great job because the 52 grants were asking for $70,000.
Yeah.
They did their homework before they actually got to the meeting.
Yeah,
They
that
had
was
great
excellent.
conversations.
So the deadline isn't exact because it can change from year to year, but typically you want the grants received, the applications received in the fall, and then they're awarded, and then they use the grant money through the year, and then at the end of the year, they need to turn in their evaluation of the grant.
Exactly correct, yeah.
So the exact date may change from year to year, but if
I
you're,
believe it was October 13th.
okay, I just want to, in case somebody's listening and they're maybe affiliated with the school and say, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this was.
Oh, no, they knew it. The liaisons get that word out, and they knew it, and 52 grants came in. That's more than we've ever had before.
Yes, and
All at one time.
the maximum award is $2,000. Are there tiers of awards, or you can just apply for anything up to $2,000?
Anything up to 2,000, and, I'm trying to remember there weren't a lot of them that were at 2,000, 52 maybe. I'd have to look back a dozen. Some people needed $800, or there's some sort of a box thing that ESC kids use, and they were like $47, and they wanted 15 of them, so that was like $700. So it's about need. It's not just throwing requests out there to get the extra money. No, it was very professionally done. So.
Okay. Council members? Very good. If no other questions, is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Discussion on the motion?
I have one thing, not to be redundant, but I heard Councilmember Schisler talking about how great this committee is for a couple years. And now that I'm the liaison, I got to witness it. And everybody did their homework. They discussed everything really. They knew what they had decided already. They discussed it as a committee, and they made their choices. And I think they did an excellent job. So I was really happy with the final result. And I'm proud of Temple Terrace for having this program. It's something really special that we do that really adds something extra to our schools. So.
Very good. Thank you. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. The grants are funded. I would like to thank you and all the committee members for the work. I currently sit on boards that evaluate grant applications, and it's not a fun.
Oh, it can be a long day.
It's very, very difficult to go through and all the different metrics and rating categories, and it's a lot to ask of a group of volunteers. And I know you do a great job, and I know how often you say no, which is not easy to do. But I see the rejection lists too. And so thank you for your work, and thank you for continuing to do this.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Can I offer one more comment?
Sure.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch these guys do this too, because they're all educators, so they know when someone's trying to blow smoke, and it's like, okay, all right. But they do a great job.
And that's what makes it doubly hard to say no, is they're saying no to their peers.
Exactly.
Next up is a resolution approving the purchase of a Ward Diesel No-Smoke Direct Source Capture Diesel Removal System. This sounds expensive. Fire Chief Kemp is here to explain.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Ian Kemp, Fire Chief. I have for you a resolution approving the purchase of a Ward Diesel No-Smoke Direct Source Capture Diesel Removal System. In July 2023, the Fire Department submitted a grant request to the State of Florida Division of State Fire Marshals for a Florida Firefighter Cancer Decontamination Equipment Grant to purchase a no-smoke diesel exhaust system, including installation and compliance testing. The purpose of this purchase is to equip the newest rescue that was recently purchased and approved by the City Council, thereby maintaining the entire fleet of emergency apparatus with this direct source capture removal system, which removes 100% of the vehicle's exhaust emissions at the point of generation. In September of 2023, the city received a letter from the State of Florida Safety Programs Manager with the State of Florida Fire Marshal's Office notifying the department that we have received the matching grant for the acquisition and installation of the no-smoke exhaust system. The grant provides 75% of funding and requires the city to match 25% for a total project cost of $9,996. The city's 25% matching obligation will be $2,499 and will be paid from account number 160-1521-522.64-12, while remaining grant of the funds of $7,497 will be made from account 0011521-522.64-12, and the fire department will be responsible for the submission of periodic reports complying with the grant award requirements. It is recommended that staff recommends the City Council approve the resolution for matching grants purchasing totaling of $9,996.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? If not, council member questions? Okay, if not, is there a motion?
Move to approve resolution approving the purchase of a Ward Diesel No-Smoke Direct Source Capture Diesel Removal System.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Next item is a resolution accepting state appropriations fixed capital outlay grant. Fire Chief Kemp will remain here to explain this one.
Thank you, sir. Ian Kemp, Fire Chief. A resolution accepting a state appropriation fixed capital outlay FCO grant. Earlier this year, the fire department applied, I think this was the fourth time, for a state appropriations grant through the state, Senate, and House representatives in an amount of $4,500,000 for an emergency operations center, which will also house the city's emergency dispatch center. The total amount of the project is projected to be $6 million, with the city providing $1.5 million. These monies will be used to design and build a hardened facility to house our Emergency Operations Center, the Police and Fire, Emergency Dispatch Center, and Fire Administrative Offices. Currently, the city of Temple Terrace converts has a all-purpose classroom at Fire Station 1 that it converts into an EOC when the need arises. This classroom / building in Fire Station 1 is over 40 years old and is not rated to withstand any winds over a Category 2. In order to operate efficiently and safely during emergency operations, i.e. hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding, inclement weather, the city has identified the need for a new hardened building capable of withstanding such potential disasters. The city was recently notified that our application for the grant was approved. The fire department staff recommends that the city council approve a resolution accepting the state appropriations fixed capital outlay grant from the state of Florida in the amount of $4,500,000.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Council members' questions? Yes, Councilmember.
Is there a time limit for the execution of the 4.5?
There is,
27.
27, 2027, March maybe, I think? Yes, 2027. That's correct.
Couldn't remember.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the resolution to accept the state appropriation grant through the State Senate House of Representatives for $4.5 billion. For the EOC.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion? Stu, you sure you don't want to discuss whether we should
I think we're good.
agree to accept $4.5 million or not?
Yeah, right.
Can we just do this? Yay!
Very good. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Chief.
I would like to say thank you, Mayor. You put a lot of time into this, and
People did.
more than people know, and thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. Let's get it built. Next is the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances by revising Section 2-61 entitled Travel Expenses for City Officers, Employees, and Authorized Persons. Finance Director Jim Ingram is here to explain. Good evening, Mr. Ingram.
Good evening, Mayor Ross, City Council. Get my glasses. This is an ordinance, City of Temple Terrace, to amend Chapter 2 of the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances in regards to travel expenses. The city recognizes that out-of-town travel and related business expenses can be an integral and necessary component of the operation of local government. Florida Statutes 112.061 sets forth the per diem and travel expenses for public officers, employees, and authorized persons applicable to travel paid for by a public agency. Florida Statutes 166.021 allows the governing body to establish equitable standards and to provide consistent treatment for those who incur such expenses, as well as establishing and maintaining effective controls over those expenses. The City Council initially set forth the per diem and travel expense policy for the city through Ordinance 516 on July 10th, 1984, and subsequently amended the policy to increase the per diem and mileage reimbursement through Ordinance 891 on January 3rd, 1995, and again through Ordinance 1192 on November 21st, 2006. After a thorough review of Chapter 2, Section 261 of the Code, an update to the city's per diem and travel expense policy is again warranted, and staff is recommending that City Council approve the attached ordinance on first reading and schedule a public hearing and second reading. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have. You note that it has been 17 years since this has been updated, so we thought it was due time.
Thank you, Mr. Ingham. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Not council member questions. Councilmember Fernandez.
What are you using as the basis for establishing the per diem and the mileage rates?
We're using the United States General Services Administration per diem rates. Actually, I have the Florida rates right here. Most of our travel, as you know, is in state. And we're looking at the meals and incidental expenses in particular for daily rates. So we are using a federal source.
And the mileage is established by IRS.
Yes.
That is correct, yep.
Other questions, Councilmember April?
So this USGS source that we're using, is that updated on a regular basis?
Yes, it is. They actually publish on a monthly basis. There's not a lot of variation and change in those rates throughout the year. The ordinance is written so that we will let staff know at the beginning of each year what the rates are, and unless I think something drastically changes, I wouldn't expect it to, but right now we are basing it on whatever it is in January of each year so that staff knows and they don't have to keep coming back or looking around to find out what the rates are.
So if I understand correctly, then if we adopt this, then we won't have to come back and change this again in 17 years or some other increment because it'll be linked to that long term?
Yes, the last ordinance had the actual dollar amounts in the ordinance. So that does kind of limit you and makes it outdated very quickly. This is based on using the General Services Administration per diem rates, which is updated on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Right, you're welcome.
Other questions?
I have another question. Sure. I know that we just recently started a new budget year and we finished the budget process. Was this part of the consideration when establishing the budget for travel for city employees?
Well, we had already discussed doing this. I don't think it affected in a great deal our travel budgets. Some of them did go up a little bit, but our travel budgets are pretty low to begin with, so I don't foresee that being an issue anywhere.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Clerk. If there are no other questions, I will ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Administration and Elections, Article 3, Officers and Employees, by revising Section 2-61 entitled Travel Expenses for City Officers, Employees, and Authorized Persons, providing for authority to codify, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, is there a motion?
Move to approve on first reading ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinance by revising Section 2-61 entitled Travel Expenses for City Officers, Employees, and Authorized Persons.
Second.
You could have it.
Discussion of the motion. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Ordinance is adopted on first reading and will appear for second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, November the 21st, 2023. Thank you, Mr. Ingham. Next item is the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances addressing firefighter pension and retirement. And our Fire Chief Ian Kemp is back up to explain.
Mayor, City Council, Ian Kemp, Fire Chief. I have before you the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of Code of Ordinances, firefighter pension and retirement. The firefighter pension ordinance pertaining to drop plan was amended January 2022, after 2 noticed public hearings. It has recently been discovered that upon codification, a sentence in subsection C 1A that had been proposed at the time of the amendment may have been inadvertently omitted. The omission is substantive, such that it cannot be deemed as a mere scrivener's error. The proposed amendment has been included in the backup material to the agenda at the first reading in January 2020, but was inexplicably omitted from the proposed amendment that was adopted upon the second reading. The City Council is once again being presented with the omitted term and will need to consider amending Section 2-205 to include. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the ordinance extending the deferred retirement program from 5 to 8 years on first reading and schedule a public hearing and second reading. All time up to 60 months will be compounded quarterly at a rate of 6.5%. All time beyond 60 months will be compounded quarterly at a rate of 3%.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Okay, if not, council members, questions?
I do.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So, this sentence was intended to be was in the ordinance in the first reading that council had in front of them. So have you been, the expectation has been, and the operation of this program been with basically this line, this sentence in the ordinance? Or have you been operating with it excluded?
The first, what you said, yes. So you're exactly right. We have been operating with the assumption that what we're doing today was already in effect.
Okay, that was my question.
Other questions? All right. If there are no other questions, I'd ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Administration and Elections, Article 3, Officers and Employees, Division 3, Pensions and Retirement, Subdivision 4, Firefighters, Section 2-205, Deferred Retirement Option Program Drop, Subsection C, Funding, Section 1, Establishment of Drop Account, providing for severability and for codification, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
Yes, move to approve on first reading ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances, firefighter pension and retirement.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion of the motion? Briefly, I do. It occurs to me that we've all up here had the benefit of reading this backup material and having been on the council when this was done, but it occurs to me that what we just said in this hearing may not be very clear to the public what we're doing, and so let me just clarify it for anybody who's wondering. In 2022, we extended the drop for the fire department from 5 years to 8 years. And at that time, it was intended that we compound the first 5 years of drop at 6.5%, and the additional 3 years that we were approving was going to be compounded at a lesser rate of 3%. That second part of that scenario didn't make it into the ordinance for some reason. And so it's been operating that way, but it wasn't in the ordinance as it was intended. So all we're doing here is adding that sentence that was inadvertently omitted back into the ordinance as it was originally intended. We're not changing anything operationally, we're just fixing a typo is basically what it is. Okay? So, all those in favor signify with aye. Whoa.
I'm glancing at the ordinance that's attached to the agenda, and it looks like, I wanted to make sure, and that everybody realizes that that once it's passed, if it's passed on the second reading, it will become effective basically retroactively to January 21 of 2020. So that way that anybody who's already participating in the program will not be shortchanged in any way. Okay.
Is there a motion? Did we had a motion?
We had a motion.
All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on first reading. Will appear for second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. Next is a second public hearing and second reading of Ordinance 1555 to adopt the 2023-2027 capital improvement sections of our schedule of projects update. And I'll open the public hearing and ask our Community Development Director, Mike Sherman, to explain.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So tonight is a second public hearing and second reading of an ordinance adopting the 5-year capital improvement schedule for the capital improvement schedule, and then also the 10-year long-term improvements for the multimodal transportation district for years 2023 through 2032 into the schedule of projects. So this is actually one of the best elements of the comprehensive plan. Now, the reason I say that is because all the other elements talk about our growth plan, the land use policies, our housing policies, all those different policies, goals, and objectives, and this talks about how we're going to pay for it. So it's not just a wish list. It's how we're going to maintain level of service that we have promised to do that in our comprehensive plan. Chapter 163 requires us to update our annual capital improvement schedule annually. It used to be an amendment we would send to the Department of Community Affairs. Now we just update it. They don't really do a review of it. We send it to them and they check it off the box that we've complied with the law. It's updated by ordinance. There's plans of other agencies in there, HART, for example, and it ties our land use planning and capital programs together. The projects in the schedules affect our level of service, and there's some that have been identified to eliminate deficiencies, and the 10-year transportation projects are also included in the schedule. We have got 117 projects between the two capital improvement schedules for a total of about $44 million of improvements. The Planning Commission found the capital improvement schedule projects consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies in the comprehensive plan. The City Council moved to approve it on first reading on October 17th, and staff is recommending that the council approve this on second reading tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Is Mr. Lowe? Please approach you have to begin with your name and city.
Charles Loeb, Tampa. Just one very quick point. I was listening. I think, unless I was mistaken, that the Community Development Director said the program was from 2023 to 2032. On the motion, it says 2024 to 2033. So
the 5-year schedule goes 2020.
Okay, Mr. Sherman, all this has to happen at the podium so that no, you can come back up to respond, but nobody can hear you on television if you're not at the podium.
So let me.
the 10-year.
Yeah. The 10-year one is the multimodal transportation district 2023 to 2032. Did I not say that?
That's what you said, but it says on the thing 2024 to 2033.
In the ordinance
In the ordinance.
In the ordinance. So the dates are wrong. Yep. Yep.
Question and second.
So, city manager.
Are the dates actually wrong, or is it a reference to a fiscal year?
The reference to the fiscal years.
So fiscal '24 is now.
Right
Now.
now.
So it's 20, some people would see it as 23. I'm just thinking if that could be what explains this away.
Right.
Possibly, yes. These go with the fiscal years we've just adopted, or Yeah, that we just adopted. So, in October, it should correspond with those dates. So the dates are 1 year in advance, it looks like.
Well, just when you talk about a fiscal year, so when you have a split calendar year, the way we do, we run 2023 to 2024. In accounting terms, it's going to be fiscal year 24. So next year will be fiscal year 25, even though the actual 12-month period will be 2024 to 2023, or 2023 to 2024. So that's, when somebody says fiscal year, it's the date, it's the year your fiscal year ends. Just clarifying that for people that.
Mr. Sherman, drag everybody through this so we know what we're.
Okay, so this reflects what we just adopted in our budget, and we put it in the comprehensive plan. And it is for, the fiscal year we just adopted was 2023 to 24 fiscal year. So I think this is correct.
It is correct. And I think there's reference to different plans, and those plans run for different periods of time.
Right.
So that's why the years don't they don't all line up. We're talking about, in one section, we're talking about a fiscal year, or 5 years of our budget from 23 to 28. In another place, we're talking about the capital improvement section of a 10-year plan, which is 24 to 33. And in another section, we're talking about the multimodal transportation district. So the years run, the plans that we're referring to run for different periods of time, correct?
Yes.
That's why the years don't always.
But still, the 2024 to 2033, if that's a 10-year period, it should be 2034. If you're going fiscal year to fiscal year.
Except it will end in September 30th, which would still be 33.
Right.
If it ends.
Yeah.
That would still be.
10 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's right. The verbiage is right.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Council members, are there questions? Okay, very good. I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the annual modification and update to the capital improvement section of the Imagine 2040 Comprehensive Plan pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes by modifying and updating the 5-year capital improvement schedule of projects for fiscal year 2023 through 2024 through fiscal year 2027 through 2028, and incorporating the 10-year long-term improvements for the multimodal transportation district for 2024 through 2033 into the schedule of projects, which incorporates by reference, per the Comprehensive Plan Cap Policy 1.5.13, Hillsborough County Metropolitan Planning Organization's Transportation Improvement Program, Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Development Plan, and Hillsborough County Public Schools Facilities Work Program, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the second public hearing, second reading of ordinance 1555 to adopt 2023 through 2027 capital improvement section schedule of projects update.
Second.
Very good. Motion and second. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Ordinance 1555 is adopted on second reading. Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Any carryover council business from previous meetings? Okay, any new business or board reports? I do want to just recognize that we have some students here from Florida College. They are working on a project. I'll probably do a terrible job of trying to describe, so I won't, but they have been down here interviewing people and doing a project in their class, and I think they're public health people. Anyway, welcome and thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Something.
Yes.
I don't know if this is new business, but I'll say it anyway. Everybody remember the Arts Festival is this coming weekend at Woodmont Park, 10 to 4 both days. We have a full show, 125 artists and crafters, about split evenly between the fine arts and the crafts. There's food trucks. There's entertainment both days. We have a new area called Emerging Artists, so what we're using with some of our grant money with a new sponsor. We have children's art area. We have a lot of fun for that weekend.
Don't forget the Veterans Day.
Well, I was hoping somebody else would talk about the Veterans
Oh, okay,
Ceremony.
well, more to come then.
Yes, well,
Okay.
there's Veterans Day there at 11 o'clock on Saturday, 11/11/11, so, but maybe someone from the city will talk about that.
Okay, we'll hold that then.
Yeah.
Any other new business in board reports? Understand Hart officially has a new CEO.
The interim CEO was elevated. They removed the interim tag, and he's firmly ensconced in the CEO's position, doing a really good job. We're very fortunate to have him on staff now, full-time and permanent.
A couple of new faces down there. The Transportation Planning Organization has a new executive director effective yesterday also. Dr. Johnny Wong, who is an internal candidate that was elevated to the CEO position. The previous director retirement was effective on Friday, so he's now in place also. So new faces, but people that are known to us, so that's good. So
Makes it easier.
any other new business or board reports? Okay, Mr. Bahia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. There are two attachments to your backup this evening. The first is actually a series of reports, just the fourth quarter updates of the last fiscal year for the council's fiscal year priorities, the departmental budget goals, and then the actual versus budget financials. If the council has any questions on those, I'm happy to answer those or bring up the pertinent department director.
Any questions on the report?
Oh, well, I do have, the only question I have is,
Councilmember Fernandez.
for the public, we're not showcasing these right now, but if the public goes on to the agenda on the website, is this backup information available? Or how could they see this?
It should be available, and if it's not, we'll get it corrected, but my understanding is that it is available.
Okay.
But like I said, we'll confirm that tomorrow, and if it's not, we'll rectify the situation.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
The next item I had also in your backup is when we had a discussion over the summer about changing the ordinance allowing staff to make acquisitions up to $50,000 versus $25,000. Councilmember Schizler had asked, and the council agreed, to have staff provide monthly updates on purchases between $35,000 and $50,000. So there was a report in your backup that originally actually said we didn't have any, but at the last minute, utilities informed me that we in fact had one purchase, and so there's a revised version you have. On October 19th, there was a purchase order issued for C&T Contracting Services LLC, they're out of Tampa, for sidewalk improvements in the Francis Arbor area in the amount of $42,137.24. If you have any questions on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
No?
And the final thing I have this evening, I'd like to ask Mr. Langfeld to come up and talk about a couple of things, including the Veterans Day ceremony.
I used to be able to see without these. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. As Vice Mayor Chambers alluded to earlier, this Saturday at the Arts Festival, we'll be also holding our annual Veterans Day ceremony. We have a fantastic speaker coming this year that I met personally at the VA hospital a few months ago when we started looking for a speaker. This gentleman has a fantastic message to share with our community, and the public will be lucky to have him and hear what he has to say. He is a truly unique and special individual, and I look forward to hearing his. I've already heard it once, and I honestly I can't wait to hear it again. He's a dynamic speaker, and will be a great asset to the event on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. at Woodmont Park. The next item I want to talk about is a fantastic opportunity kind of fell into our lap unexpectedly back in October that will add a very unique feature to this year's Winter Wonderland. We've been offered the opportunity to hold a drone show at the event. And for those of you who don't know what a drone show is, and I didn't really know either until I did some research into it, it is, you could call it similar to a fireworks show, but they're not fireworks. They're actually illuminated drones that are synchronized in flight to put on displays. A firm by the name of Lunalight Drone Show Technologies has offered to do a drone show for the city at our Winter Wonderland event at no cost to us. As a promotional activity, this firm selects 4 communities throughout the state to put these drone shows on at drastically reduced costs, and then they select one and they do that at no cost at all. A drone show comparable to what we're going to be seeing at Winter Wonderland, if we were paying full price for it, would cost about $100,000. This is an extremely expensive endeavor, and we're getting it for free. Again, the event is put on by Lunalight Drone Show Technologies and is sponsored by Steady Image Media Multimedia Productions. Our selection came about following a conversation between a member of my staff and the president of the Centennial Committee as they were exploring a drone show event as part of the Centennial celebration. As that conversation ended, the representative from the drone show firm asked to continue the conversation about an opportunity to host a drone show here in Temple Terrace. So this is kind of how this opportunity came about. The show will be done over the Ridgedale ball fields, just like our 4th of July fireworks are done, and will be viewable from the first fairway. The show will consist of between 300 and 500 individual drones flying in synchronicity, all programmed by people a lot smarter than I am, to fly exactly where they're supposed to be and put on a holiday-themed display synchronized to music. The show lasts about 12 minutes, and it's a great opportunity for us to showcase this technology and to put on a fantastic display for our community. The one caveat about this is a one-time deal. So next year, when there's no drone show,
That's what I've been worried about the whole time you've been talking.
this is a very unique one-time opportunity for us, and I just wanted to inform City Council and the community of this very unique opportunity to see a really cool and really technologically advanced display and show during our Winter Wonderland event on Saturday, December 2nd.
We're gonna really want to market this if we're getting that kind of level of a show. We're gonna, not just within Temple Terrace, obviously, but also in the region. We're gonna want to try to get the media coverage, and so.
Can I have a comment? You know, this type of advertising by the company, the vendor, I'm quite sure that they did a lot of research into things like the 4th of July presentation and the Winter Wonderland in the past, because they're not going to go around throwing that type of production for at no charge for nothing. And I think that's an incredible testimony to what you and your staff and all the other departments within the city puts together for the ton of projects that you guys put out every year. So that's a big deal. That's a very big deal, and I think it speaks volumes to all the way the departments pull together to pull off these events. So thank you. That's an unintended consequence, but that's a good one.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Very good.
Excellent.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see that.
That's all I have.
Good. City Attorney's report.
Thank you. I have a lien reduction to report on. This concerned a unit located at 13203 Sanctuary Cove Drive. There were two liens. The first one stemming from a code enforcement case from 2014. The lien amount was $116,000, and the second case was from 2016, and the lien amount was $1,000. However, our city costs were $131.28. This involved a rental housing program violation, and at the time, there was some debate as to whether there had actually even been a tenant in the property. This involved an absentee landlord who lived in California, and we have settled the lien and got a copy of the check here for $1,400, so our costs were well covered.
Thank you, Ms. Shoshone. I remember that case. I was the chair of the code board when that case was, I remember that.
A long time ago.
That was a long time ago. I don't remember all the particulars, but I remember that one was a bit tricky. So, good. Council, anything else to come before the council? Directors? Very good. If there's no other business to conduct, we will stand adjourned.